As far as the RT is concerned, you're right, it is one of the flagship programs of this government. 2009 was when this act was brought in and was passed in Parliament. And the whole intention was to ensure free and compulsory education from every student from 6 to 14. So as far as 3 years down the line that we look as far as how much we've achieved, I can say that the numbers have gone up in the goals that we had earmarked with regard to number of schools that have opened. I can quote some figures of from till we've got from December 2012. There have been over 1 lakh schools that have opened. There have been over 50,000 toilets that have been made. Drinking water facilities have come. You've had more enrollments. You've had less dropout. You've got more female students that have been enrolled. And these are major concerns of the RTA which we have been achieving. But at the same time, there's a lot to be done. And we should look at it from the point of view that the glass is half full, not empty.
Okay, now that you have mentioned the half full part of it really, Minister. So one of the key things which training was an important thing. And the figures from where you are quoting themselves say that there are about 7 lakh teachers who still remain untrained. There are 25% of the schools out of the 13 lakh odd schools which still don't have toilets. So of course the task is also mammoth and huge, one understands, but still quite a bit short of goal.
You're right. There is a lot to be done, as I said, and it has to be done when all stakeholders are on board. And that is why, as you can see, we are today only holding this advisory board meeting, which is the highest decision-making body with regard to education in the HRD ministry, where the involvement of state governments is very important. After all, being a concurrent subject, the implementation lies with the state government. And we have state ministers of education here with us today. The whole intention is that we all are on one platform, where the problems are, where the delays from the central government side should be thrashed out, and where the delays on implementation should be the state government's responsibility, and that will be the way forward, and that is what we are doing.
So what are the big bottlenecks or problem areas which are being identified in this meeting which you are having?
No, it's still ongoing, and it's the discussions are on. But I can tell you, as for our side, of course, there is a fund crunch as well. But on the other hand, implementation in the state's role is very important, where the state has to be more proactive in terms of giving their share of money and ensuring that all goals laid down in the RT Act are implemented and the benefit passes down to the students.
See, one good thing which you didn't mention, but I'll mention, is that the whole principle of universal education or inclusive education, no special or no special schools for special children, so them coming into the mainstream. But there are still areas like, one is now understood that free meal really doesn't mean that everybody will come. The examination system, so much was talked about the examination system putting pressure on the kid, but the lack of an examination system is having its own problems. Learning has decreased. Those statistics were coming out. Arithmetic, no longer the Indian kids are coming out as strong as they used to be. Are you aware of that?
No, these are all debatable subjects which you've brought up. As far as the midday meals is concerned, it is the biggest scheme of this department, where 11 crore children are being fed every day. And the whole intention of it is twofold: to ensure footfall in schools in the rural areas of our country, as well as ensure a guaranteed nutritious meal to people in the rural areas who might not be that lucky in terms of getting that kind of quality food. So there's no way that we can say those schemes have been a failure. In fact, they are the biggest success stories.
And maybe they're the biggest draws for kids to come to the school.
That's one of the reasons as well. But after all, it's the community which has to be ensuring that their ward daughter or son is being sent to school and the teacher is teaching. And the other point that you mentioned was
the continuous evaluation system.
Continuous evaluation system. Yeah, you're right. We were of the view that one exam in a year is not enough to judge a student. Might be in that day he's not well and there's some problem in the family or some other reason that he's not being able to make it for that exam. So the evaluation method was adopted to ensure that a student is under less pressure, and also that the teacher gets to know how well his teaching has been, and he can course correct during the year. But this has been brought up, and a committee has been formed to see whether this CCE, the Continuous Comprehensive Evaluation, is actually working or not. and when that committee does submit its report, we will take a call.
Yeah, because some of the initial reports say that, in class 5 students are not able to read class 2 books, and nearly 50% of them are not able to comprehend that. Those standards of English has gone up. Everything has a positive side also, but there are real problem areas.
Well, there are certain studies which have thrown up these kind of facts that you're talking about, but on the overall, you are letting that child grow till the age of 14 by giving him education and not holding him back, which could eventually land up in ruining his childhood if for some reason he is not able to get that pass percentage in a particular class. But of course, testing is an important component, and your board exams and your 9th, 10th onwards, you are tested and marks are given, and that is the way you go forward.
And of course, finally, you have 19% of the world's population of children. So really the numbers of everything about India, the numbers are just too big and too huge and too difficult to conquer every time. But still,
but you're right, that's the challenge, and it's a huge challenge. And actually, when I joined this ministry, and it is then that I came to know, of course, we are aware of the demographic advantage that India has, where 35% of the population of India is below, 60% of it is what the population of India is. And that technically means that half of India would be in schools, colleges and universities. And you can imagine how much of a challenge it is to ensure that good quality access to education and use of other technologies are given to this new age of people, which will be shaping the future of our country tomorrow.
And there was one very good element in the policy, which is 25% reservation for the economically weaker sections.
You're right.
Is it being really implemented across the board? What's the feedback you are
getting?
getting?
Well, yes, of course. That is one of the key areas of this RTE Act, where every school, aided or unaided, will be giving education to disadvantaged and backward group people. And in that, I can only say that there will be no compromise. There might be certain loopholes where it's not being implemented, but we are pushing all states to get their redressal mechanism in place, where people can go and complain where they have not been, the RT is not being actually implemented, or there are certain problems, and that is taking shape, and it will grow, where we will ensure that 25% people of disadvantaged groups will get education.
Because education, really on education rests the hope of India achieving its true potential and dreams. So
you're right, education can transform a country, especially like ours, developing economy and a huge young population. India is destined to grow further.
Best wishes for your job.
Thank you.